So some examples of extracting array attributes. For example, let's look at using mode, and you can see our array is numeric, and we give it length. So it's going to be 36. It is the number of elements in our array. And if we give, we want to see the dimensions, because our array is a three-dimensional array, so it gives us 3 dimensions. Same as with matrices, we can also specify dimension names of arrays, right? So I'm going to use the function so where we want to name the dimensions, and remember we give it a list. Say we want, because we can use letters, so A, B, C, that will name the rows. And now let's use capital letters. Remember we had 4 of the columns, so it's going to be A, B, C, and D. And this is a three-dimensional array, so we can say for we're gonna have x1, we're gonna have x2, we're gonna have x3, right? So this is how you can specify dimension names, right? Let's look into how our array now looks like. So as we observe here, we have A, B, C, D for the columns A, B, C, 4. Then in the end, we have x1, x2, and x3, right? So now we want to learn how can we extract information or extract data from an array. So to extract data, we provide one input per dimension, right? So for example, for a three-dimensional array, we need to provide 3 inputs, each of which can be one of the 5 types that we have learned about, which is blank, positive, negative, logics, or characters, right? So let's say, for example, for our array, say now I'm going to give it a blank and a blank and a 1, right? So what will this do is that it will return only the first, right? It will only return 1. So in this case, we're gonna have this first matrix, right? It's only just gonna return this, right? But now let's say we specify the negatives and positives included, right? So we say -1, for example, and we say we want to go from 1 to 2 and also 1 to 2, right? So now let us understand subscripting arrays. So what does this subscripting means? So we say that first you want to omit this row, right? Because we are using a minus sign. Then for the second argument that you have passed here, we are saying for the second vector or the second sequence that we have passed here, we are saying we only want A and B, omit C and D, right? Now for the third time is that if you look at our three-dimensional array, you will notice that we have x1, x2, and x3, but now we are saying we only want x1 and x2. Let us run this. So as you observed that we have first omitted this row because we specify -1, and we have only kept from 1 to 2, right? So which returned A and B, right? And lastly, we have only wanted x1 and x2. So it goes from 1 and 2. So this is the sequence that we have. So we're gonna return x1 and x2.